If you were alive in 2017, you know that Mayweather vs McGregor basically dominated headlines for weeks and by many was described as a freak show. I don't see why that's a problem. Those kind of bouts are always a lot of fun and it always makes for an interesting conversation point. But apparently a great boxer versus a great mixed martial artist is just bad for the sport. Definitely not bad for business though. It's not like this doesn't happen all the time, however, and WWE especially are guilty of doing it time and time again. We all lap it up, mind, and maybe that's due to the magic sports entertainment has around it. Technically, do whatever you want. I'm Simon from What Culture, and this is 9 times WWE promoted freak show matches. Number 9, Akebono vs Big Show. So we start off with a freak fight that goes against my intro because did anyone actually want to see this? I would guess the answer is no. But yes, at WrestleMania 21, Akebono, who was a genuine sumo wrestling legend, made his way to the WWE to take on the Big Show, and the results were just weird. Deciding it would be a great idea to let them have an actual sumo fight too, Akebono just tossed Big Show out the ring within a minute, and that was that. So not only was no one looking forward to this anyway, but it sucked on top. The idea, of course, was to try and generate interest from a different crowd, but this time around, I don't think WWE got it right. It was too weird. Just too weird. Number 8, Roddy Piper vs Mr. T. Given that the first WrestleMania, which had been awash with celebrities, was such a success, Vince McMahon decided to try and push that even further a year later when WrestleMania 2 rolled around. The biggest of which was a boxing fight between Roddy Piper and Mr. T. On paper, this was smart. Mr. T was a huge star in the mid-80s and Piper was as over as he ever was. There was always going to be some kind of interest here. The problem, of course, was that neither were boxers. When they actually started to trade blows, well, again, it sucked, as it was always going to. Not that it really mattered. The build and hype were the focus here, and in that sense, it did pique a lot of people's interests. Hence why we're still talking about it now. Number 7, Muhammad Ali vs Gorilla Monsoon. Why Muhammad Ali kept agreeing to these kinds of fights is anyone's guess, but a month before he did head to Japan to take on Antonio Inoki, the greatest of all time did stand in a ring to try and best Gorilla Monsoon of all people. Ali was such a star he could have been promoted against a tree and people would have turned up, but it's fair to say that if you did watch this, you were less than impressed. For one, nothing really happened, Ali just threw some jabs at Monsoon, and 2, when Gorilla did lift up Muhammad Ali for the airplane spin, well, they may as well just been playing with each other. Still though, if you can get Ali on your show, that's what you did. He remains one of the most famous human beings ever. So at least it made a lot of sense. Number 6, Bam Bam Bigelow vs Lawrence Taylor. When Bam Bam went against former NFL superstar Lawrence Taylor, a lot of people took notice. And sure, a large reason for this because it was like, huh? That's what a freak show is all about. You get people interested because the idea is so dumb on paper. You have to see what's going to happen. To try and get out of its rut, however, WWE did look at WrestleMania 11 and decided to place this in the main event slot. And you know what? Actually alright. I mean, obviously it wasn't, it was terrible. When you remember what was happening here and the context around it, it could have been a lot worse. It's a shame that Bigelow lost, because that's just ridiculous from a long-term perspective. A footballer came in and beat a wrestler at wrestling, but that's just celebrities for you. They ain't gonna lose if they don't have to lose, so the pro has to do the favours. Number 5, Butterbean vs Bart Gunn. Oh boy, what a farce this was. For starters, it all stemmed from the Brawl for All, which is the dumbest idea in wrestling history. Let's put on a tournament where the guys fight for real, which will not only suck as they're not actual fighters, but also basically tells the audience the rest of what you're seeing is not real. Great thinking. It didn't even achieve what WWE wanted because the plan was for Dr. Death Steve Williams to win and then feud with Steve Austin. That went out the window when Bart Gunn proved he knew how to knock mothers out, and the whole ordeal actually led to a boxing match at WrestleMania 15 against novelty fighter Butterbean. For some reason, no one at WWE realised how stupid this was, because while Butterbean may have been somewhat of a gimmick, he still had years of experience and knew what the hell he was doing. So guess what happened? Yep, he knocked out Gunn hard within seconds. It's brutal. Number 4, Ken Shamrock vs Owen Hart. Although Ken Shamrock proved he was actually a decent pro wrestler, he was still somewhat of an anomaly in 1998. This was former UFC fighter Ken Shamrock, who in many ways had helped get the company off the ground. And now he was having a pro wrestling match in a lion's den against Owen Hart. Bizarre. Not only that, but the setup here was to try and tap into what MMA was becoming well known for. Can you believe it? Two kind of pulled it off. It was a work, obviously, but seeing both of them go back and forth for just shy of 10 minutes was really entertaining. And the weird cage they were housed in made it all the better still. Ken won, of course, but this was proof that when you have all the pieces of the puzzle, things can fall into place nicely. Number 3, the WWE vs NFL Battle Royale. I mean, what? Happening at WrestleMania 2, yes, Vince McMahon thought it would be a great idea to throw a bunch of WWE guys into a ring and have them duke it out with actual pro football players. How was that ever going to be good? Well, it wasn't. It was really bad. Andre the Giant won because this was the era where Andre the Giant would win any battle royal, no matter what the circumstances. And thankfully, WWE did see enough sense to make sure the last 3 members were actual wrestlers, but still, I never want to see anything like this ever again. Number 2, Floyd Mayweather vs The Big Show. Proving that a payday is always very enticing to Floyd Money Mayweather, the boxer was more than happy to pop into a WWE ring in 2008 and take on The Big Show at WrestleMania 24. Given that he understood pro wrestling, however, this was actually highly entertaining, and even the build was great when Mayweather smashed Show so hard in the face, he broke his nose. Say what you will about freak fights, but when that's part of the hype, it certainly does work. Again, Mayweather had to win, but at least he did what he could to make this fun. He took way more bumps than we ever expected and had to cheat to win. All in all, I'd say this was very successful. Number 1, Muhammad Ali vs Antonio Inoki. You know, this made somewhat of a mark when even today in 2017, Mayweather and McGregor were being compared to this 1976 scrap, and they're saying something. But yes, when Ali was at the height of his powers, he did make the trip to Japan to take on wrestling legend Antonio Inoki in one of the weirdest freak show fights ever. For one, it was kind of a work and kind of a shoot. Ali was happy to go in there and just fool around, but that isn't how Inoki saw it at all. He wanted blood, and proceeded to literally kick the crap out of Ali, as Ali just seemed to get more annoyed about the whole situation. Certainly wasn't good, or at least not that exciting, but everyone involved made loads of cash, and I presume that was the point. Know of any other freak show fights? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Then head on over to whatculture.com to read more articles, and then go to Twitter and follow What Culture at WhatCultureWWE. My name is Simon from What Culture, and I will chat to you again very soon.